What is going on, guys? Alex here, and I'm back for another video. In this video, we're going to be going over the cards that you may have forgotten about. So in particular, we're going to be looking at cards that are actually very strong, but have completely either been forgotten about or unused or not really seen at all in the competitive scene at all. So just to go in beforehand, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to smash that thumbs up. This will not be a list of like top 10 or something because, in all honesty, this list can almost be changed all the time. If a deck comes out in the future, they might abuse these cards. And so on and so forth. In fact, loads of these cards are somewhat used today, but not really seen that much. We'll go into it more often as we go into the video. So, in order to be a forgotten card, the card must A, be not archetype centric. So, in this case, forgotten card that was used a long time ago was Judgment Dragon. We're not looking at archetype centric cards, so we're not talking stuff like Judgment Dragon, Mermail stuff, anything that's just not that's used. That's archetype centric. So no archetype centric cards. Card must be splashable in multiple amounts of decks. So the card must be like you can use it in like tons and tons of decks. You can't just use it in one deck and that's it. Must be either used in the past or present. So it's either you can currently use it or was used in the past. Must not be banned. So we cannot have cards like what's it called? Delinquent Duo and all these sort of cards that are banned on the list. They can be limited or semi, but not banned. And still be viable in decks, so can still be used and still good. So anyway, let's go straight into the list. So firstly, beforehand, this is my opinion. I know I'm probably going to receive some dislikes for this, but I just want to remind you guys, this is my opinion. If you disagree, put it in the description below, put it in the comment section below, and I will surely reply to you. Anyway, first card on the list is Necro Valley. Then we're talking about the errated version. After errated, I thought Necro Valley was personally going to be used a lot, but to counter decks like Zodiac, because you cannot take cards like Rapier out of the graveyard and put them back into the deck again after using Daigusto Emerald. Used a lot back in what's it called, Gravekeeper format. Necro Valley was a complete pain in the ass to play against, but since like the errata, all honesty, I thought it was going to be used a lot, but now it's pretty much unused and still very good today. If you use this in the side deck, I'm sure you can counter decks like Dinosaur, Zodiac, and probably even True Draco if you use this card. I'd say it's still a very strong card. What do you think? Anyway, next card is Fire King Island. Commonly used back in Cosmo last year, Full Power Cosmo. Fire King Island is just an absolute insane card. It's so good for the main reason that you can just destroy cards in your hand and on the field and proc effects. I'd highly recommend you use it in Dinosaur today, actually. It's a good replacement for Dragonic Diagram if you can't afford it. This card was absolutely insane and just came out in a common as well in Shining Victories. Personally, I could have even seen this as a rare. This card is so effective because it's just splashed. It was splashed in tons and tons and tons of decks that required cards to be destroyed, and it's still a very, very strong card. So if you want to have a look at this card, sure, go have a look at it. It's a very powerful card. Next card is Mystical Space Typhoon. Since the release of Twin Twisters and Cosmic Cyclone, Mystical Space Typhoon hasn't really seen much play at all recently. It's a very strong card in the sense that it's just an instant target, destroy, a spell and trap card. Plain and simple, right? The reason why it's so powerful, though, is the main reason that you don't have to waste resources in order to activate it. Cards like Twin Twister, for example, sure, you have to destroy. You have to send. You can destroy two spell and trap cards on the field, but you have to pay a price of discarding a card. Cosmic Cyclone, you have to pay 1,000 life points. This card, on the other hand, you don't really need to pay anything. But sure, Cosmic Cyclone banishes, Twin Twister pops 2, but Mystical Space Typhoon destroys 1, but you don't have to pay anything. Commonly used occasionally in decks like Heroes and Cosmo, for the main reason that you don't need to pay any price of waste any resources. Starlight Road is the next card on the list. Back in Synchro format, when Stardust Dragon was used a lot, this card was pretty much a good counter to cards like Dark Hole and Regeki after it came off the ban list. Usually this card would protect big boards, like if you had, I don't know, 3 or 4 big boss monsters on the field and your opponent was to activate something like Dark Hole. This was your response. You could activate Starlight Road, negate the card, and special summon Stardust Dragon. So a really strong card, and actually still used. I've seen it in a few deck profiles online. The card is still powerful and is actually very good. Next card is Mask Change 2, a very gimmicky card that was used a lot in Shadows. For the main reason, it's just, hey, target a card that was dark and change it into a Dark Lore. This card has splashed in so many decks, and mainly just rogue decks in general, and still used a lot today. It's a very fun card to use, and honestly, you can have a good amount of laughs with this card. Just chuck in a Dark Lore and have one dark card in, chuck a Dark Lore into your extra deck, and if you have one dark monster or a few dark monsters in your deck, chuck in Mask Change 2. Give it a shot. It's a really gimmicky card, but it's a lot of fun to use, and it's actually very strong for what it does. Next card is Compulsory Evacuation Device. Now, before Castel came out, this card was pretty much the only response to cards like Beals and stuff, because of course Castel wasn't out, Beals couldn't be targeted but could not be destroyed, and other cards that can't be destroyed by card effects. Compulse was pretty much your way to go from it. You just send a card back to the deck or back to the hand, and it's back to the extra deck and back to the hand. This card was actually very powerful for what it did, and Castel, of course, not existing, Compulse was your way of not proccing destroy effects and was just getting rid of stuff on the field. It's a target, and for some reason it's still at 1, but hey, the card is still good. Next card on the list is Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler on release was an expensive card, and in Blue Eyes format this card was used a lot for the main reason that Sage could search it. This card is extremely good because all it does is just negate an effect during your opponent's turn, and they can't activate the monster effects until until like the next turn. It's just such a good card. It was always used and was like one of the best hand traps at the time before cards like what's it called, Ghost Ogre was released and all those sorts of cards. This was actually a very good response. In order to negate monster effects. Used a lot in Necros format to prevent cards like Trish, Necrozabrio, and even Valkyrius. This card was extremely powerful and really, really good. Next card is Reckless Greed. Now this is a very arguable one in particular, because I think I'm going to get a lot of comments saying, oh, Reckless Greed is still used today in Paleo, but all honesty, with 60 card decks gone down the drain now, don't think we're going to see Reckless Greed at all. Not really used in many decks anymore, mainly seen in just Chain Burn. Reckless Greed is an extremely powerful card that just allows us to draw 2 cards, skip 2 draw phases, but doesn't stack. So I could activate 2 Reckless Greeds in 1 turn and only skip 2 draw phases. This card was an extremely badass way of just drawing 4 cards for free, although I have to skip 2 draw phases, but allowed me to draw a ton of cards just to skip 2. Really, really good. Next card on the list is Breakthrough Skill, a card that was used a lot in Burning Abyss and PK Fire format. This card was insanely powerful for what it did. You can just activate it, negate an effect, and then it goes to the graveyard, and hey, in the next turn I can just banish it and use the exact same effect. It was really, really good for what it did, and it's still actually very viable today. It's just so good, but the only reason why it's not used as much anymore is just because it doesn't destroy. Mill decks aren't necessarily used as much as, well, 60 card decks are now gone. This card wasn't even used then anyway, but back in PK format, and when Light Swans were still kind of viable, this card was a really, really good way of card because of just what it did. And of course, this is before cards like Solemn Strike came out, and cards that really could negate monster effects like Lost Wind. Anyway, that is it for this list. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Please leave a like, subscribe for some more sexy content, and hey, I've got a deck profile coming around the corner. So hey, if you want to see some more juicy content, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, anyway, my name is Alex, and I am out. Peace.